A 6-year-old Honduran girl described as having crippled legs. An 11-year-old boy with severe epilepsy and convulsions that prompted vomiting and memory loss. A Honduran woman who cannot hear or speak. Separated members of families. A woman with a serious precancerous disease causing bleeding and pain. These were among the people forced into a controversial Trump administration program that aimed to stop the flow of asylum seekers from crossing into the U.S. via the southern border, according to a January internal government report obtained by BuzzFeed News that was addressed to senior leaders at the Department of Homeland Security. Some were later able to get out of the program and enter the U.S. while others were not. The report offers a rare window into the behind-the-scenes dysfunction and confusion surrounding the migration protection protocols, also known as Remain in Mexico, which have long been criticized by immigrant advocates as a cruel and illegal way to keep asylum seekers from entering the U.S. It documents how investigators believed that border officials, at times, appeared to not comply with the agency's guiding principles.
From 2019 to 2021, the government forced tens of thousands of asylum seekers to stay in Mexico as they waited for their day in a U.S. court. The immigrants were often left with nowhere to go but squalid camps in Mexican border towns, and human rights advocates reported cases of immigrants being kidnapped, raped, and tortured while waiting there. The document's existence, revealed by BuzzFeed News, comes at a particularly important time. The Biden administration is on the verge of restarting the Remain in Mexico policy after a federal court judge ordered officials to do so this summer. While advocates have pushed the administration to ignore the order, the DHS has said it is ready to implement it by mid-November if Mexico agrees. In sum, the document highlights a series of problems the Biden administration could face as it seeks to revive the program: inconsistent policies, incomplete training, and confusing guidelines. The discoveries made by the investigators show how vague policy guidelines can lead to life-altering decisions for those seeking to enter the U.S. The information contained in the memo is incredibly concerning and demonstrates why restoring a humane approach to migration is so critical, a spokesperson for the DHS said. The administration is currently under a court order requiring it to re-implement MPP in good faith, which it will abide by even as it vigorously contests the ruling. Pursuant to that order, the department is working to re-implement MPP in a way that protects vulnerable individuals, including but not limited to those with known physical and mental conditions and others that might be at risk, something the government of Mexico also identified as a key concern. As stated previously, the department will soon be issuing a new memo explaining and reaffirming its decision to terminate MPP. The Trump administration implemented the controversial program in early 2019 amid a surge of families crossing the border and seeking asylum. In the early days of the policy, which was one of multiple efforts to restrict asylum, the U.S. was seeing upward of 100,000 border crossings a month. Despite legal challenges, the program was maintained throughout the Trump administration. The report, written by officials from the DHS Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Office, documents a dozen findings during the course of a 2019 investigation of the policy and analyzes whether agency officials followed guiding principles issued in January 2019 that described who could and could not be placed into MPP. The CRCL investigators pored over emails and documents from the various agencies involved, including U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services and Customs and Border Protection. CBP officials said they could not comment on leaked documents. DHS did not immediately respond to a request for comment. CRCL officials found that, although those with known physical mental health issues were prohibited from being placed into MPP, this was not well explained to border agents. Indeed, the investigators explained that border officials created a standard of whether an immigrant was medically cleared for travel to determine whether they could be returned to Mexico. They also said CBP officials were not complying with the language of the principles set out by DHS for people who, despite their medical issues, were cleared for travel. With regard to the application of that amenability guideline, it is unclear to CRCL how circumstances such as cognitive disability, glaucoma, epilepsy, cervical metaplasia, uterine cancer, heart conditions, crippled legs, chickenpox, AIDS, and diabetes do not qualify as known physical mental health issues, yet CBP emails and records confirm that individuals with these conditions, known to CBP, have been returned to Mexico under MPP. the report states. In one case, investigators looked into an allegation that a 6-year-old girl from Honduras was returned to Mexico despite having advanced cerebral palsy. The CBP records the investigators reviewed indicated that she, her parents, and her brother were placed into MPP on May 20, 2019. A DHS form the investigators reviewed indicated crippled leg, left and crippled leg, right under a section reserved for scars, marks, and tattoos. There were no other records relating to her health. The note by CBP that she had 2 crippled leg indicates that CBP was aware that the child had a disability at the time it placed into MPP and returned her to Mexico. Although the records do not substantiate the allegations of advanced cerebral palsy, CRCL has concerns that CBP violated the MPP guiding principles by making amenable to MPP a 6-year-old identified as having 2 crippled leg, the report states.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.